Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is nutrition, and the title is Mistakes Happen, Learn and Move On. So when it comes to nutrition, we are all going to make mistakes. So when you're trying to change a lifetime of bad habits or misinformed habits, it's going to take time. So I had a kind of a quote from my dad. I figured it'd be a fun place to start. And essentially, when my brother and I were growing up, we learned that everyone makes mistakes. If you only make them once, you're human. But if you make them twice, you're a dumbass. So that's basically what we were told was if you make a mistake, that's okay. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. So it's all part of the learning process. But if you make the same mistake twice, clearly you haven't learned. So that was why we were called a dumbass, and we were usually told to get our head out of our ass. So it was a fun childhood, but it's true, and it's kind of a thing that I've used as I got into it being an adult was that you can't beat yourself up over mistakes because the first time you do anything, you're going into it, with maybe some education in terms of like what you could read in a book or get like information from friends or someone who's been there before, but it's not the same as the education you will get of the actual experience. So, for example, my undergrad degree is in health and phys ed, like teaching certification. So, you go to school for 3.5 years, and then you do a single semester, like 14 weeks of student teaching in a public school. And you learn more in those 14 weeks than you did in the 3.5 years ahead of them. So it is necessary to have the 3.5 years to lay the foundation and the groundwork, but you still go into the student teaching and you still make a ton of mistakes and or you have a lot of learning to do yet. So you can read all the books you want, you can, take all the classes you want, but until you start doing the thing, that's whenever you really start learning. So, fun little side tidbit. I won't make this too long, but I think it's a funny little transition. So, in my student teaching experience, my one of the teaching experiences I had, I showed up the first day, and I was supposed to just observe the teacher that I was underneath at the school. And he went and did these lessons, and he was telling me, it's kind of boring for you if you're just sitting there all day. He said, "I'll tell you what, I already have all the paperwork done for the next section of lessons. So if you want, tomorrow, you come in, teach all the classes, but you don't have to do any paperwork." So, and it was supposed to be a program where you kind of ease your way into being like in front of the kids and stuff. And I was like, well, hell, I don't care. Like, I don't want to do any paperwork, so that's fine with me. So I showed up, and the very first lesson I had to teach was on sex education. So I had to teach the male anatomy. So I had a big blow up chart, like 5 foot by 5 foot chart of the male sexual reproductive anatomy and had to teach that to a bunch of like eighth and ninth graders, so a bunch of middle school students who were mortified and wouldn't speak to me. Then we had to go through the female anatomy. Then we had to go over pregnancy and childbirth, and that teacher, oh man, that was awesome on his part. Is he set up his whole school year to make sure that when sex ed came around, he didn't have to do it. So that was a really good one for me to get my feet wet and kind of just get over being embarrassed or getting over kind of any potential mistakes. So I don't think those kids were listening to anything I was saying anyhow, so it didn't even matter. But that was my first student teaching experience, was teaching about male and female anatomy. So, but that's how it's going to be. Anytime we try to go into making a lifestyle change, like we said, it's going to take time. So it took us, 10, 20, 30 years to settle into the mistakes that we are making. So it's going to take us years to potentially come out of those mistakes. So one of the things I was thinking about is a good example of correct expectations is whenever we use adherence charts for clients when it comes to nutrition. So we've talked about this in past podcasts where we'll have like a chart where if they eat a good meal, they get a check. If they eat a meal but it's bad food or incorrect food according to their program, it's an X. And if they skip the meal, it's a blank space. And it's a chart on a piece of paper, and it has the number of meals they should have per day, and then how many days per week. So if we have like kind of a typical way that I like to feed people is have them do a breakfast, lunch, and dinner with maybe something in the mid morning and something in the mid afternoon. So little kind of carryover meals to kind of help the body just stay fueled and have more calories during the daytime and prevent overeating at night. So that gives us about 5 meals. So breakfast, mid morning, lunch, mid afternoon, supper. So that's 5 meals, 7 days a week. That's 35 meals. And what we found is that people who make 32 out of 35 meals correct, they make pretty much all the progress they want. It's just as good as doing 33 or 34 or 35 meals. So there are small differences, but when you're talking about most people who are just wanting to look healthy and say go from 20 plus 30 plus percent body fat down to somewhere between say 15 to 20%, which most people would be totally fine and happy with, that 32 out of 35 is good. It's just as good as 33 or 34 or 35 out of 35. So we don't even expect perfection when we're trying to get the best results. It's not even necessary, really. So if they're consistent at 32 out of 35, that's, oh my God, that's amazingly better than hitting 30 out of 35 out of 35 for 2 or 3 weeks, being perfect, then burning out, making only 25 out of 35 meals good for 2 or 3 weeks because they were so burned out from trying to be perfect. So often when people try for perfection, everything they do comes in very large swings. So they'll do perfection for, a little bit of time, but that takes a lot of willpower, takes a lot of self-discipline. And willpower and self-discipline are something that are finite. So at any one given time, we only have so much of those. Now we can build those over time, like we can build muscles, or we can build strength, like a 1 rep max. But at any one day, we only have X amount to give. So my 1 rep max on my bench press is only so much today. Can it be more in 6 months? Yes. But it has to be grown slowly and controlled. So as we grow muscles, we know that we have to present the stimulus for change, which is the workout, and then we have to allow the change to happen, which is our sleep and food. So we have to allow our body to respond to the stimulus. So often when people are trying to be perfect, they're pushing their willpower, they're pushing their discipline to the edge at all times, trying to be perfect. But they never allow their body to actually grow into that or recover into it. So that's typically why they have the feeling of burnout, is because their body's overextended. So your using of willpower and discipline is surpassing your recovery to adapt to the greater demand of willpower and discipline. So often perfection is not long-term successful. It's temporarily successful from time to time for certain situations and necessary, but it's not a lifelong sustainable process. So I can't aim to be 35 out of 35 meals perfect for the rest of my life. Ain't gonna happen. Nope, 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 nope. So if you try for that, you're always going to feel defeated. So even if you got a 34 out of 35 week, you're going to feel defeated. When that's freaking totally fine and that's freaking fantastic. So 32 out of 35 would have been totally okay. So if you only got 34 out of 35, there's absolutely no need to beat yourself up. That's still a ridiculously good week. So sometimes when people aim for perfection, they set the wrong expectations. Therefore, they have the wrong kind of self-punishments and the wrong kind of like feeling guilty or feeling bad or feeling like they're insufficient or something's wrong with them. They beat themselves up completely unnecessarily. So really, our game or our goal of the adherence tracking is progress over perfection. Really, what we're trying to do over time, like the whole point of adherence tracking on diets, is just to see what is really happening. We're going to talk more about this later in the podcast here, but overwhelmingly, most people, they rationalize their mistakes to the point where they no longer count them as mistakes, so they don't have to feel bad about making mistakes. So what happens is on Monday they'll mess up their lunch, but it was a work lunch. They brought lunch in for me. It was the only options I had. I did a good job. I could have had the salad, but I had pizza instead. But I only had one piece of pizza instead of the 3 or 4 that I really wanted. And they say, well, that's good. No, pizza wasn't on your plan. It's not good. Okay? Now, don't beat yourself up over that. Just learn from it. Maybe there's a way you could take food in with you that day to work. Maybe there's a way you could have, like, eaten the salad and then came back an hour or two later and got some food. Or maybe that's a day where it truly is just a mistake. Okay? It was outside of your control, but it's still a mistake. It's still something that is not correct according to the plan. So you would still have to mark it as an X. And that way you're just aware of that. So that way, if that during that week you don't make all the progress you wanted, and you look back and you say, man, every single lunch has been X's. I need to do something about this. I need to change maybe my other meals of the day to allow for a slice of pizza to actually be okay, according to my calorie count, my protein count, meal timing, meal frequency, all that stuff. So sometimes, if you can't change the meal itself, you can change your other meals to allow for that meal, whatever it might have to be forced to be correct. Okay, so there's always ways to kind of modify and check and look at things, but we have to be aware of what the truth of those things are for us to be able to adjust to them. So if you just lie to yourself every day and say it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, then you're not going to make progress at the end of the week. And then you're not going to look back and say, well, these are the things I need to fix, because you're going to say, well, I can't fix that. Or you're just going to say, I didn't even mess anything up. I did a great week. I don't know what in the world went wrong. When really you had pizza every damn day for lunch. So you have to be real with yourself, okay? But that's okay if there's a couple mistakes. Like we said, 32 out of 35 is just as good. So aiming for progress over perfection is a much better mindset. You just have to make less mistakes than you made before. That's the goal. So when I review client emails who do like nutrition reviews or nutrition check-ins with me, often they'll usually include, especially when they're new, they'll include some type of like, oh, I'm sorry kind of thing, or an explanative behavior, or like, I know I shouldn't have done this, but I did this, and da 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 da. And very quickly they realize that that's unnecessary when they email me because I'm not looking to scold them. That is absolutely not helpful. That's oh my gosh, it's not even close to the mindset that I have when somebody emails me. What they email me for is, this is what happened during my week. And I say, okay, well, in these areas where we had the mistakes, this is what we can do. Here's something that we can do to correct this in the future. So I don't work on scolding, I work on education. It does no good to make somebody feel bad who already feels bad. That's stupid. So it's not helpful. And then I'll be very honest that if somebody is always like, oh, I feel bad, and oh, I'm so sorry, and then I have to try to pick you up every week, it's annoying as hell. It's tiring. It's okay. We talked about this last week. It's okay that you made a mistake. Remember, we're not trying to be perfect. And then they send the same thing next week. I made 2 mistakes this week. And I'm going to have to be like, okay, it's totally fine. You're allowed to make up to 3. So it gets tiring to argue back with people. So I don't even get into the emotional crap because it's annoying both ways. So it's either annoying for you and nobody likes to be scolded, or it's annoying for me to continue to pick up somebody who's always negative. So what the main goal of the emails or what the check-ins are for is education. So, hey, okay, I see you on Tuesday. We went out with a friend. We were at an unfamiliar restaurant, and we got something maybe that had twice as many carbs as what we really would want. So in the future, when you go to this restaurant or when you have this style of food, so for example, if they have like Mexican food and they have something in a wrap, so they have like a tortilla wrap. Tortilla wraps are carbs themselves. If you have rice and beans in there, those are carbs as well. And then if you add in like sour cream or other things, it's just carb, 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 carb. So sometimes they'll have somebody, and they'll email me and say, hey, I had a burrito or something like that, and they're like, I took out the rice and beans, that way there'd be no carbs. And I'm like, yeah, but there's still a tortilla wrap. So I say, here's the nutrition facts for tortilla wraps. They have a lot of carbs in them as well. So next time do da 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 da. So that's really the whole point of the emails, is just to educate. So that way we can learn from what happened and move on. So I'm never going to scold people because that's ridiculous. I am not, who am I to yell at someone else for their mistakes when I have made all of the same damn mistakes myself? I'm just further ahead in the learning process than my clients. So I remember I've made a million nutrition mistakes over the years. So when I first started dieting, I would over diet. I thought somehow I was super duper special, or I was like the fattest person on the planet, so I thought I had to like do everything to the extreme. So I had to do more cardio than anybody else had to do. And I had to eat more strict than anybody else had to eat. So I remember I had one diet where I ran a mile. It was between a mile and a mile and a half every day. And I'm not naturally a runner, so running is wicked on me and it tears me down, muscle and joint wise and stuff. I'm just not made for running. So I would run every single day, and I would be on top of my weight training every day. And then I would eat boiled chicken and vegetables with hot sauce. That was the only food I ate every single day, every meal. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, anything was just boiled chicken and boiled vegetables and hot sauce. As you can imagine, that tastes insanely disgusting. So I did that for 3 months, and I lost 30 pounds. So I lost on average about 10 pounds a month because it was just horrible, horrible food. There was no fat, and there wasn't even carbs because the vegetables were really low in carbs. So I was just eating like protein and nothing. And I was doing a ton of cardio and I was lifting weights an hour a day. So I basically just ripped my body apart. So I lost 30 pounds on a scale, but I actually didn't look any better. I actually looked just as soft and pudgy, if not worse, because I probably lost 30 pounds of freaking muscle more than I lost fat. So that was a pain in the ass. So I've made a ton of mistakes with over dieting before. I've also done the bulking thing where you overbulk and you try to convince yourself that all of your chubby fatness is somehow muscle, just soft, dormant muscle. Um, but I remember I'd get done with a workout, and it might be like the world's most intense leg workout, but I would go home and eat like a 3,500 calorie pizza, as if I needed a pizza to replenish, when I worked out. I did not do a 3,500 calorie workout. I'd have been dead. so, so I overate when I would do bulking. We've all done that. So bulking is just a, a, a fun word excuse for eating like shit, basically. So it's like, oh, it's okay because I'm bulking. So it's just an excuse, and it's a word that people won't judge you as much as I'm just a fat ass who likes pizza, so I'm just going to eat pizza. So it sounds like we're doing it for some type of purpose other than I just like food. So, but I had those mistakes. I remember I made a ton of like just in the moment kind of mistakes. So I once did a diet where I lost 50 pounds in 8 weeks, which was bonkers, by the way, so I don't recommend that. But I lost 50 pounds in 8 weeks. And I remember when I hit the goal, I drove directly to Food Lion. I even know the Food Lion it was here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I went in and bought a half gallon of chocolate marshmallow ripple, like ice cream, and I bought spoons. I went out in the parking lot and I ate the entire half gallon of ice cream in the parking lot as it was melting. Because, dear God, I about died and losing 50 pounds in 8 weeks. So I remember that was a momentary mistake. That was incredibly too significant of a weight loss, and I did it with starvation and cardio again because it was an effective way to lose weight on a scale. It doesn't mean you look good. It just makes a number on a scale go down. So, but I ate the half gallon of chocolate marshmallow ripple ice cream in the parking lot at Food Line. Probably looked like a psychopath. And then I did unhealthy kind of eating prevention type behaviors. So I've done diets where like I was super hungry in the evening, and like I had stomach pain from being hungry. So I didn't like the discomfort of that, and I knew that if I sat there too long, I would probably break down and probably eat. So I would drink a 2 liter of diet soda as fast as I could because it would make me ridiculously uncomfortable. Like, oh, it'd make your stomach like churn. It'd be so uncomfortable. But at least it was a different uncomfortable than hunger. So I just wanted a different pain. I was tired of being in the same pain. So I would drink a 2 liter diet soda just to stop that pain and trade a different one. So there's tons of mistakes that I've made. And when I see clients send me their reports, that's why I'm not trying to make them feel bad because I didn't want somebody to make me feel bad when I made mistakes. Hell, I felt bad enough. I didn't need somebody to add on top of that. And it was something where, if anything, what I would have loved to have had was someone educating me on why I felt the way I felt, which led to the mistakes that I made, and how I can maybe prevent them in the future. I was going to do enough scolding of myself. I didn't need that. I just needed education, and I needed to learn how to apply the information so I could then forgive myself and move on. And that's what I would promote for everyone listening to this, is recognizing that when you try to make healthy lifestyle habits, when you're trying to eat healthy, to recognize you are going to make mistakes. Okay? What you need to do is just find the reason and the answer for it. Find out why it happened. Educate yourself. Find the answer. And then, so you're going to find out why it happened. You're going to try to find out what you can do in the future to prevent it from happening. You're then going to apply that and start using that as a learning lesson. So you're going to forgive yourself and move on. That's going to be your goal. So we tend to, when we diet, we tend to lean towards kind of all or nothing type things. I'm going to do, perfect, or I'm not going to do it at all. Well, that's dumb. That is absolutely stupid. You're not going to do perfect. No one does anything in life perfect. Zero. You probably don't even brush your teeth perfect. Okay? So perfect isn't real. That's not real life. Nothing in life is always constant. Life is ridiculously evolving and transformative. So I always laugh when clients say, well, I'm going to do this when things calm down and when things get to normal. And I'm like, there is no damn normal. Just start now. There is no normal in life. You're just in between moments of being abnormal. Okay? So it's continually abnormal, just in different waves. So there is no normal. There is no consistent. There is no perfect. So don't aim for perfection. Just aim for progress. And again, the other thing we always tend to do is rationalize our excuses. And that doesn't work. We know what the rules are, but we didn't follow them. So we had an excuse for it, so we try to justify why our excuse is okay. As if just because we have an excuse, we're still going to get the same results as if we had done the right thing. It doesn't work that way. You don't get results from things you don't do. So if I missed my workout today, and then maybe that workout was supposed to help me, get bigger biceps. If I didn't do the workout, regardless of any reason whatsoever, it could be any reason on the planet, okay? Any reason you can think of. If I didn't do the bicep workout, I don't get bigger biceps. That's it. So you have a reason for why you missed it. Okay, fine. Sure. Okay. But that doesn't mean you're going to get the result. So if you don't eat according to your plan, no matter what reason you have, you won't get the results. It doesn't matter. The reasons or the excuses don't mean anything. The only reason why it might be okay to the only reason why you'd want to pay attention to them is if it was something that you want to try to overcome and work around. But if you're saying the excuse just to justify why you messed something up, it's completely useless. Don't do that. It doesn't matter. Excuses don't mean anything. Now, if you're looking to say, hey, this is what happened, how can I adjust this and modify it for the future? Okay, cool. That's perfect. That's useful. But if you're like, oh, I missed a meal because of this, this, and this, and then you're done, that's where you're going to stop, that's completely stupid. That's useless. So excuses don't mean anything. They don't get us results. So they maybe are moments that we can learn from, but if you're not saying it to learn from it, it's useless. So what we want to do when it comes to making nutrition mistakes is, again, like I said, we want to educate, apply, forgive, and move on. Those are our steps. So you want to educate yourself on trying to figure out, why did I make this mistake? What happened that led to this mistake? And then apply is, now that I know what happened, how can I figure out how to correct it in the future? So I want to educate myself, then I want to apply what I've learned to make sure I can make corrections and changes in the future. So remember, everybody makes mistakes. But if you make the same mistake twice, you're a dumbass. So life's goal is, don't be a dumbass. So educate, apply. And then the big one is to forgive yourself. Understand that everybody's going to make mistakes. Everybody even makes repeated mistakes. So everybody's a dumbass, in different times and different degrees in life. So I've probably been a perpetual dumbass my whole life. But that happens. So you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make them again and again and again. Sometimes you have to make a mistake 10 times to realize, wow, okay, after the first one, I didn't think it was good because of XXX, XYZ, whatever. But then all of a sudden, for the second one, I got the same result. Third time, same result. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th time, same result. I probably need to stop doing that. So some people need to smack their head against the wall a few times before they can wake up and realize what's going on. But that's what you want to do, okay? Is just forgive yourself and then move on. So don't ruin the future because of a ruined past. Just no matter what's in your past, doesn't matter. From right now, starting right now, listening to this podcast, you can change your future regardless of what's in your past. So that's our goal. So one tip I would give you is, if you're not doing that, is to use an adherence chart. And the reason why is, what an adherence chart is, it's a chart of your adherence to rules. So are you following the rules? You can see yes or no. Rather than just kind of keeping everything in your head, where we can kind of tell ourselves friendly lies, or we don't get kind of like to see the big picture. We get kind of blinded into just the moment. So if the moment is going well, we tend to think we're doing better than we are. If the moment is not doing well, we tend to think we're doing worse than what we really are. So tracking your mistakes or tracking your adherence is a really good goal, like good idea, because it allows you to see your mistakes in the scope of the big picture. So you can see if you're actually, just in a little bit of a slump, but overall you're doing really well. Or you can see if this is a continual mistake, if it's something that's happening over and over again. And maybe you've just been rationalizing it to yourself, so you haven't been noticing. But you can see any cascading behaviors. And having to mark them down helps you to stop them. So for example, if somebody makes a mistake Friday night, they'll be tempted to try to do something like opposingly over necessary corrective on Saturday. So say they overeat Friday night, then they'll eat nothing on Saturday, and then Sunday they're like starving to death from eating nothing on Saturday, so they try to eat nothing during the day on Sunday, but then all of a sudden they break down, they have a big meal on Sunday night. So from the one mistake on Friday, they messed up and underate all day Saturday, then they underate the start of Sunday but overate on Sunday. So just because they messed up once on Friday, it led to them messing up all day Saturday and all day Sunday. So that's what we can stop with adherence charts. If I messed up Friday, I have to put down the thing that I messed up. But then Saturday, I'm just going to go right back to my plan. That would be the goal. Because if I say, well, I'm not going to eat this, I'd say, well, that's off your plan. What does your plan say to do? So if you have to make another mistake to correct the other mistake, it's like two wrongs don't make a right. So if I undereat Saturday, that does not fix Friday. That just causes a new problem. Okay? You now have two problems. So that's what tracking can do, is once you make one mistake, you can go right back to the plan and start making checks and start making a good momentum and good positive steps. Okay? So you can stop mistakes right where they're at. And like we said, you can see progress over time and recognize that a bad moment doesn't derail the whole process. Okay? So when you're trying to correct yourself with nutrition, and this would be any behavior, you're trying to fix any kind of character flaw, any type of behavioral flaw in life, mistakes are going to happen, okay? And that's part of the process. It's just part of being human. So it's part of learning how to adapt and move on, how to correct yourself in certain situations and certain mindsets, certain behaviors. So mistakes will happen. The goal is to educate yourself on why it happened, apply what you've learned to how you can prevent it from happening in the future, forgive yourself for the mistake that you've made, and move on. Make a better future, okay? Just because we messed up the past doesn't mean we have to mess up the future. And the key there is making sure you forgive yourself. So everybody makes mistakes. To make a mistake is just being human. That's the goal, okay? So educate, apply, forgive, and move on. So if you have any trouble with this stuff, or if you have anybody, like if you need to reach out to us, get a viewpoint, maybe some motivation on how to forgive yourself. Maybe you want to look at the education aspects, or you're having trouble to figure out why something that's repeating to happen, why it's happening over and over again, reach out to us. Our email is brutalironjim@gmail.com, and we're happy to help. Okay? So if you like this podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we know what you want to learn about. And you can tell us at our email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.